Welcome back, everybody. Doug Burson, CPA, and today we're going to discuss why filing your business tax return on time could be one of your most expensive mistakes you could make. That's right, filing an extension could become one of your best friends. I'm telling you this is true. Stay tuned, and I'm going to give you 6 reasons that you should file an extension this year. Well, number one's a pretty easy one. It's more time to prepare an accurate and complete tax return. If you rush, how many things are you going to miss? Let's be honest. You're rushing. You're trying to get everything together, whether you're filing your return yourself or you're trying to get it to your CPA to prepare it. You're rushing, you're putting things together, and you're gonna miss stuff. So I know this is a simple one, but it really could be one of the biggest ones if you think about it. What about the things you forgot? So don't rush to file the tax return. Just file that extension. It gives you 6 months. And when we used to do this a long time ago, we used to have 2 different extensions. There's the first extension and the second one. And the standard language all the accountants in the industry said, we basically just said something to the effect of, look, I just need more time to complete, I believe it was an accurate and timely tax return. And that's so true. We can always file an estimated tax payment and get in the ballpark, but don't rush filing that tax return. And we're going to get to several more reasons why, but one of them is just the things you rush and you forget about. I know that you can't remember everything you did last January or February or March, so slow down, go through those banking records, go through everything, and make sure you don't miss anything. Number 2, this is also an easy one. We're getting to some stuff with some more meat here in a minute, but these things are real. Take the stress out of filing taxes. It goes back to the first one. You're rushing, you're worried, you're scared you're going to miss something. You're trying too hard to get it all right, and you're gonna mess it up, and then you're all stressed out. You can't sleep at night. You're worried about getting it to your accountant who already said you already passed the cutoff date, so now what are you gonna do? Breathe. I'm just telling you, breathe. File that extension. Take out the stress. Slow down. And like I said a minute ago, let's make sure we get all of the stuff, and you don't have to lose sleep over this. It's gonna be okay. Now this third one, this one's a real deal that you may not think about, and your accountant's not going to want to tell you this a lot of times, but the truth is in the summer, your accountant has more time to focus on you and your business. During tax season, they may want to, but if they got 500 tax returns stacked up that they got to get out the door, they don't have as much time to slow down. And while maybe that's not the way it ought to be, when you put an April 15th or a March 15th deadline that's just the truth. We just talked about you being stressed out. Well, guess what your accountant is? They're also stressed out, and they are rushing to get it done. So the more complex your return is, and the more moving pieces, and the more planning that we may want to be doing, it might make sense to file an extension to make sure they can give you their full attention. I know you wouldn't have thought about that one, but that's a real deal. Okay, now let's get into some things that are going to save you some money beyond just making mistakes from rushing and stressing out. If you have a 401k plan in your business and you thought about setting up the profit share side of it, which I hope you did, if you've done that, and here we are in March or February or April, whenever you're watching this, but probably in February or March since we're talking about extensions, you may not have enough cash saved up to fully fund that profit share because you just went through the winter, especially if you have a seasonal business and you're waiting for spring to break to start making money. And a lot of businesses are that way, but you just don't have enough money to fund that profit share. If you file that extension, you will have up until the filing deadline, which for an S corporation or a partnership would be September 15th. Sorry, I stalled on that, but that's when it would be. So you have all the way until September to come up with the money to fund that profit share. That's huge because what's really cool about that is you can fund that money this year into that profit share and reduce the tax return for last year's return that we just filed an extension, which what does that do? That immediately gives you a tax savings, which helps you right now. Okay, I hope you're starting to see the power of this. If so, go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell, but don't leave. The ones that are coming up are the ones that are really the most important to me and the ones that I really made this video that I want you to think about and change your point of view on this. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to number 5. Now, the next one I have on here is basically the same thing, but not all of you have a 401k, but a lot of you have a SEP. And a SEP will allow you to do up to 25% of your profit into the business retirement. It's basically an IRA for you as a business owner. And you can do up to 25% of the profit. So what does that mean? That means just like the 401k, if we file that extension in March, we have all the way until September to fund that SEP. Maybe you don't have enough money to max that out right now, but you really, really want to. You're trying to supercharge your retirement account. You want to make sure you have enough money there, but you just don't have it right now. Well, if we file an extension, you can wait till spring breaks or summer or whenever the good time is in your business when you have the money, and now we can fund it this year, reduce the taxes for last year. And so that's another reason that I think is really important to think about filing an extension that you may not have thought about. Okay, now this one to me is the most important one, and that's number 6 on my list today. And that is, it gives you an opportunity to find out what this next year is going to look like. And that's very, very important because you actually get to do planning backwards, right? We get to go into next year, see how that worked out, and then decide what we want to do with last year's tax return. That's crazy, but it's true. And it's an awesome, awesome thing you can do if you file an extension. And that's why I think a lot more people should be filing extensions than they do. So let's think that through a little bit. Let's say it's May or June of this year. You're having a really bad year. Let's just start with the negative. Really bad year. It's not good. Man, I wish I wouldn't have put all that money into that profit share back in March. I wish I wouldn't have, but I did, and now I can't get back to it. Or it's going to cost me money to get it back out. What if I had a way to not, oh, that's right. If I would just filed an extension, I could have extended the time to see how it was going to look. Same thing when it comes to that SEP, same deal. I can decide maybe I need that money because time is lean. And so I need that money for cash flow to keep my business afloat. Because let's be honest, for us small business owners, cash flow is a big, big deal. And we don't necessarily have a huge line of credit like some of the bigger companies do. So we have to really manage our cash flow. And an extension allows us to do that legally and still get the deduction for last year. But what else could happen? Well, let's say you bought a big piece of equipment last year. And we were talking about doing 179 and writing it all off last year. We had a pretty good year, so that makes a lot of sense. But maybe this year is a really good year. You are killing it. You're going to be in the top tax bracket this year. Oh man, I wish I wouldn't have wrote that piece of equipment all off last year. If there had only been a way that I could have known. There is. File an extension. It gives us an opportunity to plan backwards and make the best decision with 2 years. We could go all the way till September and make some of these decisions. Think about that. This year would almost be over. We know pretty much exactly how it's going to go, and I can still make tax decisions for last year. That is awesome power. That is something you really should consider. I know it's not for everybody. I know a lot of your businesses are very stable. Maybe your cash flow is great. You're sitting on cruise. And in that case, you probably don't need to do that. But a lot of you, this thing could really open things up and allow you to do some really smart stuff and take advantage of what the tax code has to offer. So there you have it. That's not all the reasons. If you start thinking through this, you can come up with other. But these are some things where you may not have had a clear picture in January or February when you're filing that tax return. But in August or September, you know. And that's why I think filing an extension could be one of your best friends going forward. So with that, I'll see you guys soon. Make sure you hit the button, subscribe, and look forward to talking to you in the future.